All right. I think we have everybody here now. And let me get my screen started here. And can everybody see my screen? All right. Well, welcome everyone to our January 24 Denver Association of Assisted Living Residents meeting. I hope you all enjoyed the networking that we did. That's always, we seem to have pretty good reaction for that. So we continue to do that, and hopefully you've met some people tonight that you can form relationships with. Again, we ask that at the bottom on the chat screen, you put in your information, name, phone number, email, where you're from. At the end of the evening, where you put your information in, you'll see a little button with 3 dots. You can click on that button and actually save the file, and that will save a text file of everybody or everything that's in that chat screen, including everybody's contact information. So next, that was our screen for that. We talked a little bit about networking. And we always like to remember Gene Greeno. Gene was a staple in the assisted living space. Unfortunately, we lost him a couple of years ago. But Gene Greeno founded the RAL National Association, the RAL Academy, and he was the catalyst for me getting in. So I always like to remember Gene. And Gene, his motto was do good and do well. We invite everybody to visit our website, DAALR.com, which has an interesting acronym, which is DAALR.com, which is kind of fun for this group. And I have put in my chat the website there, so please visit that. If you are in Colorado, there's some specific places that you should be looking at this, in particular the helpful links. And if you go to that helpful links tab, you'll want to take a look at this Chapter 7 and Chapter 2. These are the regulations that if you operate in Colorado, you need to know these like the back of your hand. If you're outside of Colorado, you may find some other interesting information throughout here. But we've kind of gathered all of the hard links to find that are tough to find on the Colorado CDPHE website and put shortcuts to those in there. But again, outside of Colorado, there may be a few tidbits that you can use there. We invite everybody to join our Facebook page, and I did put a link in this in the chat as well. So please join this and be part of our social group. And we thank everybody for signing up through Meetup. This helps us understand where our people are coming from, and we would ask that maybe at the end of this meeting, you could give us some feedback on the meeting, and hopefully that includes a 5-star review. So next I want to talk about our sponsors tonight. And let's start with, if you're in Colorado, Hall Ryan Construction. And Hall Ryan Construction, with 35 years of combined construction experience, the exceptional team at Hall Ryan Construction has transformed residential and commercial properties by bringing a high-touch, customer-centric approach to every engagement. On the insurance side, Hall Ryan's reconstruction and roofing expertise is a skill that many insurance companies actively seek out. Their reliance on Hall Ryan's experience in helping them write estimates has made Hall Ryan a well-respected, trusted expert in the field. So if you're in Colorado, you need a roof or remodeling, hallryanconstruction.com. Next, we have our speaker tonight, and that is Brett Chutkavis. Took me a while to learn how to pronounce Brett's name. Brett, would you like to say a couple words?
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Vern. So I own and operate Platinum Resort Assisted Living in Texas with my wife. Our whole niche is we build new construction I call memory care mansions. They're 16 bedroom, 17 bath. And our whole, I guess, niche is we want to offer all the care and amenities that you can get at one of the big facilities in a custom designed boutique style home. And so we're doing this, we're expanding our business. And really, I want to show people a different path to, instead of just buying a house and converting it, here's a new construction model that you can do. Here's how we do the zoning. And you can check out our podcast, our YouTube channel. Really, my goal is to share my journey along the way and provide as much value as I can as a different option of people who want to go new construction. And then ultimately, I am looking to partner with people who want to do the same type of model and literally build our exact mansions. So that's what I have tonight. I'm going to show you how we are building our wait list. So thank you.
Thank you, Brett. And if you're interested, please navigate to palm.university and check out his site. And he's got some great training videos. So if you're operating, his training videos are top notch. He's done a great job with those. Next, we have the RAL National Association. And this is the National Association for Assisted Livings, the residential style. You should be a part of this. And if you're part of our group, then you do get a free associate member level, as free associate level membership there. And they have newsletters, and they've got a lot of group purchasing benefits. I noticed too that they've got some good videos on there, training videos. So it's a good group to be a part of. And of course, more people that are part of this, the stronger our industry is. And next, we have the RAL Academy. If you are new to this industry and just getting started, then we recommend that you go through this course that they have on running an assisted living. They've got a ton of great content here. And whenever somebody comes to me interested in this is the first place that I will direct them. So it is ralacademy.com. We actually have a link to it on our website. I've highlighted that up here. Next, we have assisted living marketing. And with more than a decade of experience, they have customized services that work for small, large, and multi-location communities. Assisted living marketing is your trusted partner for digital and print marketing in the assisted living industry. They also have built our website for DAALR. They built my website for Grand Avenue Brokers. They built my wife's website for her sign company. They've been a great company to work with for website building, and they've been very responsive. So I would highly recommend them. Next, we have Senior Care Administrator Coaching LLC. This is Janet Cornell, and Janet provides consulting for your assisted living home here in Colorado. She can also do the 40-hour administrative training, staff training, and employee file compliance and compliant documents. She's very, very knowledgeable. She ran 8 of these homes for close to 20 years. One of the smartest people I know in this industry for assisted living. So if you are in Colorado and need some help, please give Janet a call. scac-janet.com is her website. Next, we have Investment Community of the Rockies, which is called ICOR. Forgive me. ICOR is Colorado's only nationally recognized and award-winning real estate investors association, serving Metro Denver, Colorado Springs, Fort Collins, and Northern Colorado, as well as real estate and rental properties investors throughout the state. So you can look up their website, icorockies.com. And if you're an investor in Colorado, this is a great group to be a part of. Next, we have the Colorado Assisted Living Lawyers, Pinkowski Law, and we happen to have Brian Pinkowski with us this evening. Brian, would you like to talk about your group?
Hi there.
Hello, Brian. You want to tell us a little bit about Pinkowski Law?
Absolutely. Yeah. So as you may know, as far as I can tell, we're the only law firm in the nation that's helping specifically assisted living places. I mean, there might be a couple other strays here and there, but frankly, we're not running into them. And that's fine because we really, really love helping this industry. It's been an interesting year. There's been a ton of transfers of ownership towards the last half of last year. And so far this year, they're increasing, which is consistent with what the NIC guys, National Investment Center, are finding. And so as a result, you guys are going to see some blog posts on changes of ownership, asset purchase agreements, and things like that that you need to think about when you're doing your transfers. Additionally, we're also seeing a lot of adult protective services kinds of things because when economic times get tough, sometimes people get a little fussy. And so, they'll complain about this, that, or whatever. And so sometimes we end up defending a caregiver or two or something like that. But what that means to me is that things are happening and moving. And so that's a really, really positive thing for the industry. And we're excited to keep helping them.
Thanks, Brian. Brian and Michelle have been instrumental in Colorado and other places, but because they are local, they've been just fantastic for our local community and helping navigate through some of the problems that we have with the state regulations. So thank you, Brian and Michelle, for all that you do. Next, we have one of my favorite groups, A Better Way Funding, which we do lease options for group homes. If you're an existing operator looking to expand your operations, we're really a good fit for you. You can take a look at our website, ralleaseoptions.com, just to see how that works. But we have helped operators grow from 2 or 3 properties to 20 plus properties. So take a look at ralleaseoptions.com or give me a call and we can chat about how we might be able to help you grow your business. And also Grand Avenue Brokers, business brokers at A Better Way Realty. That's my group. And I've got over 30 years of business experience. I've done over 60 assisted living transactions, totaling more than $100 million. I am a certified business intermediary. And of course, my specialty is assisted living. And just to take a look at some of our recent activity, we do have available 55 beds in Eastern Colorado. We have 16 beds in North Metro, which ABW funding is available for that project. We just closed 3 8-beds in the South Metro. We have available 12 beds that are northwest of Metro Denver. We just closed 56 beds in Southeast Metro about a month and a half ago. We have under contract 46 beds in Northwest Denver, and we just closed last week 8 beds on the Western Slope. So if you need help buying or selling your assisted living, you can reach me, and there's my number, and it's also in the chat screen. Next, news from the Colorado Assisted Living Association. We have Brian, you're on the board there. Can you give us the update?
I am on the board there, and we're in the process right now of working with the Colorado legislature to get a new bill passed dealing with the transfer of training certifications. Some of you who operate assisted living places, employees like to move from one place to another, and sometimes former employees are a little possessive of the certifications in the employee files. And so we're helping get a bill passed so that there can be a little bit more mobility in the staff to create, at least one less barrier to people who want to move and work someplace different. And so we're working on that. And overall, we're expanding and things are pretty exciting.
Terrific. Thank you for the update, Brian. All right. So now I'm going to introduce Brett Charkevis, who introduced himself earlier, but Brett's been a guest here, presenter for twice last year. He's got great content, and we always ask him to come back, and maybe we'll get him one more time this year. But Brett, would you like to take over the controls?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Brian.
You bet.
Well, I'm going to get my screen ready and talk to you tonight about marketing, how to fill these beds. So switch. And just to confirm, everyone can see my presentation. They can also see me in the corner on this thing. All right. I'll take no response as a yes. So I like to talk about this, and I call it the strategic 20. And this is really something that my wife and I developed. You can see her here in the photo. And this is something that we use to fill our beds. And I want to start here because sometimes I hear people give presentations on marketing, and they are a marketing company, and they, build websites and direct mail and all sorts of stuff. That is not me. I build and I operate assisted livings. That's what I do day in and day out. I am going to talk to you tonight from the perspective of not a marketing person, but as an operator, and say, here's what I'm currently doing right now to fill my beds. And I know it's currently working because I got all my beds full. I'm full of grandmas, right? So I'm going to show you from this perspective, here's what we are doing, and unpack a plan for you that you can implement, whether you are currently operating or whether you are under construction, or perhaps even if this is still just like a hope and a dream, at least going into it, okay, here is Brett's strategic 20 plan. Like, we can implement this. So you see here on the screen, this is actually our assisted living Platinum Resort in Georgetown, Texas. It is a luxury, I call them mansions. I call them memory care mansions, because we take care of people really at the end of life. That's our niche. All private rooms, private bath. We have a chef, we have a salon. I have 2 managers that run it. And we set ourselves up that ultimately we can compete with the big smelly facilities. Everything that you can get at one of the 100 beds down the street, we can offer in our 16-bed mansion. So we are expanding, and I'm actually breaking ground next month. We're building out a neighborhood of these mansions. And so you can see some renderings here. I have 8 acres, and we're going to be building out 4 mansions, and they're each about 10,000 square feet, 16 bedrooms, 17 bath, just custom designed, gorgeous products. And so it's important to kind of put this in perspective for you as we're talking about tonight. I'm going from 16 beds in my city of Georgetown up to 80 beds, right? And so I can tell you with confidence that my marketing strategy, this plan, it does work. I'm 5Xing my business because I know I can fill my beds, and I have zero issue with being able to get leads every single week. So we'll talk about what that looks like, because it's nothing too crazy. I'm not spending any money on it. It's something that you can do. I just never heard anybody really talking about it from this perspective. So I want to unpack this for you all tonight. At its height, our wait list got to about 62 people. And I say that because we every about 6 months or so, we go through and we call and remove people from our wait list. But really, the wait list is less important. You need it right in the beginning. But ultimately, I want to talk to you about how to consistently get new leads, new tours every single week. Because to be totally honest with you, we never even call our wait list. Because as soon as we have a bed that's open, the person who toured last week, that's who we call, because they don't have to give a 30-day notice, right? Like, if you can have a marketing machine, and that's what my strategic 20 is, it's a marketing machine. If you can have this, then ultimately there is new people coming and touring all the time. So I wrote down here at the bottom our marketing KPIs, because I wanted to kind of put this in perspective for you, what this marketing machine looks like. And every single week we have a meeting with our management, and I go through and they put in all their numbers and they track it. And so every single week I know the following. I know how many new leads we had, how many new people called, and it's about 3 new people per week. And then it's about 1.5 tours per week, meaning over 52 weeks, it averaged out to about 1.5. And we have about 1 new person every single week that joins our wait list, meaning we don't really ever have very many beds that are available. But nonetheless, if we did, they're like, hey, I'm ready to move in, right? So we have 52 people over 2023 that were joined our wait list, right? And ultimately, anytime somebody does pass, it only takes us a few days to fill that bed, because we just call the person who came and toured last week or the week before. And so ultimately, I want to talk to you about that, because I hear so many people struggling and they really act without a plan. You know, most people talk about, I'm going to use placement agents. I'm going to, you know, visit the chamber the first couple times and then I get sick and I stop going. Like, those aren't really a plan. Like, I want to show you, here is 4 different steps that you can build out actually over several years. It's a long play. And I'll show you how to get results quickly and then become the talk of the town over a long period of time. So we implemented this strategy even before we had our license. We literally started while we were under construction. So I talked to a couple of you tonight, met you, that you're still like, you're under construction, you're still maybe even haven't even started construction, some of the people that I met. And this is totally applicable to you right now. You can literally start this now, because ultimately, of our 16 beds, we had 12 checks on hand. Literally 12 daughters gave me non-refundable checks saying, hey, mom's in the big smelly facility down the street, but as soon as you get your license, I'm putting in my 30-day, I'm moving mom over here with you, right? Your building's not done, but I love it. I love what your vision is. I love how where your heart is. And I want to move my mom over. So this is something that you can totally start at whatever stage you're at. And I want to encourage you to do that. So I like numbers. I'm kind of a math guy. And I think that sometimes it's good to talk numbers on these things, because ultimately you need to put it in some context. And most people don't give enough focus or attention, especially the small business owner, to marketing, right? Like, marketing honestly is its own like little separate business inside of your business, right? You got to take care of the grandmas, you got to do all that kind of stuff. And most people focus so much on their product that they neglect their marketing. And you have to treat it like its own little separate business, right? Because if you don't, then your product doesn't matter. If you have no beds full, then it doesn't really matter how great your care is. You have no beds full. So I want to start there tonight to kind of really emphasize that you need to know the importance of what this is. You need to stress this. So I wanted to put some context and a little bit of numbers to this. So most smaller assisted livings, right? They have 1 to 2 beds open on average throughout the whole year. And if an average bed rate is $5,000, then that's $7,500 per month. That is in missed income, right? Times 12 months out of the year, that's 90 grand of missed income. If you're operating your assisted living, you are potentially leaving 90 grand off the table just by not having your beds full. If you're average, if you're below average, then it's even more. Now, that's one part of how I'm going to put this into perspective tonight. The second part is, once you build a wait list and you have increased your demand, right? You have 1 open bed and you have 5 people who want that open bed. Now you can start increasing your bed rates. And so I'll show you in context what that looks for us, but we have been able to increase our pricing about every 6 months. And now we are at $8,000 per bed. And, you know, for our market, that's pretty high. We are definitely higher than even the new construction, big, 4-story facilities. And it's really because everyone wants to move their mom there. They all want to move out of the big 100-bed and then move into our 16-bed mansion, right? So I want to show you, here are 2 different ways to ultimately increase your income, because this is how you provide the best care, right? You have to have the numbers for it. You have to have the income behind it. So if you took this idea and you said, okay, I have been able to increase my bed rates from 5,000 to 5,500, right? Because I have more demand, because I have a wait list. I got 10 people or 12 people that are ready to move in with the, any 30-day notice, and I got 1 open spot. Now, if you had that and you increased by $500 per month and you had 8 beds, you're adding an extra $48,000 over the course of a year on top of the 90. If you had 16 beds like me, you're adding an extra $96,000. So this is literally like almost $200,000, right? I want to put this in perspective. What I'm going to talk to you tonight, I want to stress it because it's worth 200 grand. It's worth 200 grand to me, right? If you have an 8-bed, maybe it's worth 100 grand to you, but that's still a butt ton of money, right? Like, this is not something I want you to take lightly. And I want to put it in the context, and before we get into this, to say, I know you are, as a small business owner, putting so much focus on your product, on your care, on your caregivers, but I just need you to take this plan and spend a little bit of time each week on your marketing, right? You have to kind of designate some time to that. And I want to stress that because it is totally worth it. $100,000 or $200,000 of net profit or extra income each year is that it's life-changing. So what would you do, if you had that additional money? For me, I was able to hire a second full-time manager, right? For my 116, I have 2 full-time managers that are there around the clock, right? I am not getting any calls anymore. When there's drama, I don't get calls. When there's no call, no shows, I don't get calls. I never get calls anymore. I have 2 full-time managers. I gave all my staff a raise, and then I spent that extra time that I have because I'm not working in the business anymore, and I built a plug-and-play operations system. And now I'm at a place now where my wife and I, we both work like 2 to 4 hours a week, right, in our business. And now it allows us the time to spend time with our kids, to vacation. We save half of our income, and we travel and we grow our business, right? Like, so I want to start from this perspective of this plan has changed my life, and it can add 100 grand or 200 grand to your business. Or if you're not even open yet, this is a plan that you can use now, even while you're under construction, to say, hey, I can really get my numbers in check here, and I can really make a difference in my business and ultimately get to my goal of financial freedom and time freedom. So you may say, okay, well, that sounds like probably a lot of work, Brett, and it's really not. And I like to think of it as the sniper approach as opposed to the shotgun approach, right? Like, I want to spend a very specific amount of time and action to do this. And that's why I call it the strategic 20. I'm being very strategic about this. So really, it's a limited time for marketing. Realistically, 3 to 4 hours a week is what we spend in marketing time to be able to do this. I don't spend any dollars in marketing, and we are constantly having new leads and new tours. So I want to show you a strategy that we use, that some of our other business partners use, to be able to fill their beds and get consistent leads coming in, new tours every single week. And it's really not an overwhelming amount of time. You just have to take the appropriate action steps for that. So when we think about assisted living marketing, at least when I think about it, I go to a lot of these events at the Brookdales and the big, facilities, and they have the same job jumpers that work there for corporate, that they literally work there for like 4 months and they're off to the next place, right? The marketing director just keeps jumping jobs. And it's the same culture. It's that same vibe on literally like this market, this industry, I think really, really, really is terrible at marketing. Give me a sec. I'm trying to fix my AV here. Okay. Sounds like I'm back here. Hop in and let me know if I'm not back, but it looks like I can see my presentation again. So, again, I mentioned this kind of at the beginning, right? People take this approach of, oh, I'm going to go to the networking meetings. I'm going to, call a place for mom and some of these other things. Those don't really work, right? Like, a lot of people in this industry have open beds all over the place because they don't have a solid plan. So what I did is I thought to myself, well, I'm not seeing results, right? When I talk to other business owners, this is before I even got into this, like, I'm not seeing people actually get results from this idea of, oh, I'm going to just get 2 beds full a month by paying a place for mom or some other placement agents. I wasn't seeing the results. So I'm like, how do I think outside the box? And the first thing I thought was like, well, how are other businesses making sales, right? How are they getting leads? And, you look on like Instagram or TikTok, and you got all of these influencers who are pushing products, right? You have like The Rock, who's like pushing tequila or vodka or whatever it is, right? Like, you have like the Kardashians that are promoting jeans and jewelry, right? Like, there are so many different people that are making millions of dollars. They're selling so much product, and they're doing it through leveraging influencers. And I'm like, man, there's got to be something to this, right? Like, there's not really influencers, famous people in assisted living, but how do I take that underlying principle? And this is where I really have come up with this idea of the strategic 20. How do I take what is working currently in other spaces, right? Because other industries really have marketing dialed in. How do I take the underlying principle from that and apply it to assisted living? So that's ultimately what I want to talk to you about tonight. How to take this influencer style of marketing and flip it onto assisted living. And that's what I call the strategic 20. So this is something that you can implement now and really run it in 4 different stages that honestly would probably take, probably 2 to 3 years before you even got to stage 4. So I'll talk to you about these 4 stages tonight, and ultimately you'll start with stage 1 and 2, which might, you'll get through that in a year or more and have a huge wait list before you even get to the backside of this, of what we developed here. But this is a very robust program that we built out to really become famous in our community for assisted living, for end-of-life care. So this is kind of how it runs. Okay. I would say if you're gonna break this down, you're gonna start today, right? If you're this average assisted living that has the 1.5 open beds, this is what you would do. Okay. I can show you how to use the strategic 20 to within 1 to 2 months to fill up. Okay. You want to fill up quickly, and then within 3 months to have a small wait list. It's pretty simple to get to 6, 10, 12 people on your wait list by using the strategy. And then realistically, within 6 months to grow your wait list, get to about 20, 25 people on your wait list, create demand, create some hype, create some talk in the community, in this influencer community that I'll unpack, and really be able to increase your bed rates. Bump those bed rates by $500 a month when you get there. And then again, like year 1 to year 2 to really be known in the community, right? Assisted living, end-of-life care, hospice, home health, these are small, intimate communities where everyone knows each other. And that's really what I mean when I say community, right? Like, how do you get known and become really popular in these communities? So this is the step that we do that would take probably 1 or 2 years. And this is really why I'm talking about, I implemented this in phases, really over several years. And then after about 2 years, really to be like the talk of the town, to really be the place, the go-to destination for assisted living, for end-of-life care, whatever your niche is. And then really allowing that, leveraging that to be able to grow your business, to be able to expand, really. And this is ultimately the path that we took to go down to, really have 16 beds going all the way up to 80 beds in the same city, right? Because everyone knows who we are. Everyone knows our reputation, and everyone is sending referrals to us, to Platinum Resort. And it's really just through these 4 simple steps. So, we really, again, put 3 to 4 hours a week into it, but it's very strategic action and relationships that we're building to be able to do this. So I want to unpack this for you tonight and make it as applicable as I can wherever stage you're at, whether you're, again, operating, whether you're under construction, whether you're just kind of getting your business plan together, knowing that, okay, here's a plan to be able to confidently say to lenders or investors, this is how I'm going to do it. So I break these into 4 phases. And really, I think phase 1 and phase 2 kind of go together, and then phase 3 and phase 4 are going to go together. So 1 and 2, I'll talk through first. And really, that's the first probably 2 years. Okay, I wouldn't even get through to phase 3 and 4. That's the backside of this until you got a huge wait list and everything's going fantastic for you. So really, when I split it into phase 1 and 2, phase 1 and 2 are on one side of it, and that's people that are in the industry. Okay, people in the industry. And then phase 3 and 4 are people that are not in the industry. They're people in the community. And I'll give you this more context here as we talk through this. You don't have to understand this quite yet. But the best place to start, the lowest hanging fruit, are people who are in the industry, right? So then I kind of split it into paid and unpaid. Now, you would rather have unpaid, right? Like if people are going to send you referrals, it's nice if you don't have to pay them. If you did have to pay them, well, it is what it is, right? You want to get the bed full. So this is really the difference between phase 1 and phase 2. Everyone in the industry, do you have to pay them or do you not have to pay them? So phase 1, this is placement agents. So they are in the industry, they're in the end-of-life care niche, and you do have to pay them, right? That is the easiest place to start because these placement agents, they want to meet you, right? They're easy to find them. They want to talk to you. They will take your phone call. They will return your email. If you are brand new to this, or if you are open and you have open beds, if there's a placement agent around, they want to take your call because you're going to pay them, right? Like they're happy to take your money. They're happy to take your call. So this is the easiest place to start. It's the lowest hanging fruit. And I think to go even further on this point, to say, okay, instead of just like, hey, let's call them and talk them on the phone for 10 minutes and then sign a contract on DocuSign, right? Like, you really want to sell them, right? You really want to provide them the content to be able to sell their person, right? Think of it in this perspective. We're putting this whole thing in context of an influencer. All right. If you think of like Kim Kardashian, right? Like, she's an influencer. She has followers. She has power and authority in her referral. When she says, hey, I like these jeans, there's a ton of women who go line up to buy those jeans, right? She knows who her people are. They're following her. They have followers, and she has power and referral. So that's really what an influencer is, those two things. And I want to take that concept and apply it to this space, right? Who has my two things here? Who has followers that have grandmas and grandpas, and who has power in their referral? So the first group of these people are the placement agents, right? The followers they have, that's their own customers. That's literally the daughters, the POA, the family that they've reached out to, right? And they have power in their referral. When they say, hey, here's the 3 facilities that, are in your area, and here's their price ranges. And you know what, by the way, this one's the best one. There's a lot of power and authority in that referral. So I want to start with the easiest place, right? This is why it's in phase 1, because it's easy to start because they want to take your money. But it's not quite good enough to say, okay, yes, I'm going to sign this contract and then hope for the best, right? Like, you actually need to create relationships with these people. And that's where the 20 part comes in this strategic 20. It's really my database of, about 20 people. It might be more, it might be less. I want to get to a handful of people on my different phases that I have built a business relationship with, that I've cultivated over some months or years eventually. And I have a business friendship essentially, right? Like, they know what my product is. They know if I have the best care, they know that I have the best care. They've actually come and toured my building. They have a relationship with me, and I've sold them, right? Like, I've sold them on why my assisted living is the best. That way, when it's like, hey, it's Brookdale or it's Platinum Resort, they're like, well, yeah, I don't even know why you'd go over there. Like, the place sucks. It smells and it's gross. Like, you should go to Platinum. It's the best. And so ultimately, I want to take this idea of selling the influencer so that they can sell daughter behind them, right? This is the whole premise of this. I want to sell the few who are going to turn around and sell the hundreds behind them. How do I make a few sales, and those sales turn around and sell hundreds of people behind them? And I get tons and tons of calls and leads and tours and referrals and fill my beds, right? That's the whole premise of this. So the easiest place to start with those strategic relationships are the people who will 100% of the time take your phone call, even when no one knows who you are, because you're going to pay them, right? Pretty simple. So I talk about selling these people, right? You should for sure tour them. They should come in. You should give them your pitch. You should tell them why you're the best. Tell them all about your heart. But then it's, in order for you to sell them, that's only half the battle. You have to equip them so that they can go around and then sell you, right? If you didn't provide them with any information, if they never toured you, if you just signed a digital contract, you're not going to get much out of that relationship. It's not even really a relationship. But if you equip them with like, hey, here is our virtual tours, here's our website, here's our Matterport, like everything digital. Old school with these folders, right? Like, everyone hands these dumb folders out. That was 10 years ago. Hey, everything digital, right? On your phone. Can I text a virtual tour? Can I text videos of my testimonials? Can I have digital brochures? Everything. So that when the placement agent is sitting down with the daughter, they're like, here, yeah, just you pull your phone up, boom, text, whole link comes through, everything right there in a nice digital package, right? I want to equip my influencers to sell on my behalf, right? Make it easy for them to sell to the POA, to the daughter, to the family. All right. So again, friend them on social media. They should be following you personally and or your business page, right? Like, part of our weekly KPIs is I want to know how many times a week my managers are posting on social media. The minimum is 5 times. 5 times a week. I check it every single week. There needs to be 5 posts, right? And I have different categories for how these posts should look. And we're not going to get into that tonight, but I am literally stacking my Facebook, because that's where usually my avatar hangs out on Facebook. I'm stacking that with content of real life, not these fake fluff photos that are stock photos, right? Like here's real Facebook lives, like grandma's having fun. Like here's our chef, here's cool stuff, right? Like I want my influencers to be following that stuff so that they can pull out their phone and be like, oh yeah, well, you either got Brookdale down the street or you got Platinum. And here, look, I saw Platinum the other day. Like they were having so much fun. They had their chef make some BA, steaks. And then they had like a pony that came in and like all sorts of cool stuff. Like here, just take a look, right? Like it makes it so easy if you can put it in that context, right? So let me keep talking about this a little bit more. I don't want to pay for referrals. I will pay when I have to. I've paid I don't know, 3-4 times in like 4 years. That's it. I don't ever really pay, but if I need to, I will, right? I have no problem paying for referral, but ultimately I think of this phase one, the placement agents, as my startup or my backup plan, right? I think you should use this first. That's why it's in phase one, to fill your beds. For sure, get those beds full. That's really your number one priority as the business owner. And then ultimately, I want to cultivate this relationship, and I kind of want to keep it on simmer, right? Like I want to move forward in this process. We'll talk more about phase two, about unpaid influencers, people who you do not have to pay, who are happy to just tell everyone all the great things about your assisted living. But we're here on phase one. So I do want to cultivate these relationships, and you want to use it as a kind of, let's get started quickly. And then I'm going to kind of back off as I've replaced them and filled up the rest of my strategic 20 list. So you can kind of phase them out, but I would not burn the relationships, right? And I think it is important, even if you are not continuing to use placement agents, that you continue to still find out who those people are, because they turn, right? Like they'll fire someone, they'll go to a new job, or like some franchise will sell and it'll become somebody new, right? So I still cultivate those relationships. We'll invite them over, we'll do coffee or whatever, but I still want them to stay as one of my influencers. I still want them to promote me, and I'm hoping that I don't have to use them and pay them. But sometimes I do, just because they bring in a grandma who's ready to move in day one, and she's very light levels of care, and it's just like, oh, this person's gonna be fantastic. They're a great fit. And, maybe that someone toured and like, oh, that's kind of heavy level of care. And I'd rather just pay the couple grand and have this grandma who's going to be with us for, 10 years. And she seems really fun and her family's no drama, right? So pros and cons, all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, I want to stress this point, that most assisted living people in this industry, they say, hey, this is your sole source of marketing. Like, this is not even really marketing. This is just, I don't know, it's doing something bad. They say, hey, here's what I'm supposed to do. This is my marketing plan. I'm going to go find 2 or 3 of these placement agents, and they're going to send me these leads, and I'm going to fill up my beds 2 a month. I think that's BS, right? Like, I didn't see that happen. I don't see that happen. I see people struggling when they stick to this sole plan. This is not a plan. This is a backup plan. So keep it as a backup plan. But I want to stress more than anything that if you only are doing this, what is your results? Because it's probably not anything like mine. And there's a reason, because I want you to move forward in this plan, right? I want you to get to phase 2 and 3 and 4. So let's talk a little bit more about what's next. So phase 2, right? We're still in this front half of it, which again is still everyone who works in the industry. And I made a list of positions in this industry, and there's probably like 30 different types of people that I came up with that could give referrals, that work in the industry. And there's a lot of different people here. And all of those people, why they're in phase 2, is because I don't have to pay them. Those are my favorite kind of people. These are actually my bread and butter. When we have 3 new leads a week and 1.5 new tours a week on average, it's because of phase 2. It's because they are sending me people almost every day, right? There's like a new lead. Here's a new call. Check them out. So ultimately, I think that you should not do just phase 1 and then wait. You should do phase 1 and phase 2 together at the same time. But I talk about phase 1 first because it's numerically, it makes sense to talk through it like this way. But ultimately, you should do them together. And you should really start now. Wherever you are at, if you do not have your license yet, you should start. If you do have your license yet, you should start. If you haven't even built your house yet, you should still start. These are just relationships. They're just people. That's all it is, right? Like, even if you don't have a building, our building wasn't done. And we shared our heart. We shared our vision. Here's what we want to do. We want to help and love on grandmas, right? Like, we want to make a difference. We don't want to do, this little, dinky RAL or this big smelly facility. We want to have a custom built mansion, right? Like with a chef and salon, and we can have all the care and amenities. And people were super excited about that. We didn't even have it yet. It was just in our mind. It was our vision, right? Years ago. And people were so excited. They were telling everybody about it, right? Like, so you can literally start this right now, wherever you're at. So what I really like about this, the people in the industry, whether they're paid or unpaid, they really still want to meet you, right? Like they're in this niche. They like talking about this stuff. If you say, hey, I have a new house coming up, I have a new mansion that I'm building, I'm buying this, I'm building this, or whatever, they want to hear about it, right? Like, they're in this space. So it's pretty easy to be able to go and talk to these people. And we'll talk about that in just a sec here. But I wanted to share some examples. Who are the people that you should be on the lookout for, right? And I said there's probably like at least 30 or so that I came up with, but there's RNs, there's physician assistants, there's doctors, there's hospice. And hospice has a whole bunch of different positions there, right? There's shower aides, there's chaplains, there's the marketer, there's the CEO, there's the nurses. Home health, there's a whole bunch of different people on the home health side. Independent livings are fantastic, right? Those are a bunch of grandmas and grandpas that are doing decent, and then they have a fall, or then they have medication issues, or then they get dementia. And you know what happens? The people at the independent living find them on the floor, right? Like, it's been a day and a half. And they're like, oh crap, what do we do? You know what you need to do? You need to call Platinum Resort, right? Like, if you don't know who I am, if you don't know what my business is, if you have not toured my mansion and found out that we are the best in the whole city, then I am not doing my job. My job is just to sell a handful of people, right? The right strategic handful of people who are then going to turn around and sell the hundreds of people that they have contact with, right? They have two things to be an influencer. You have the right people that are following you. In this case, it's a bunch of grandmas and grandpas or their POA, and they have power in their referral. So independent livings, home health, hospice, all of these people, they are influencers, not the way the Kardashians are influencers, but they are still have, by definition, or at least my definition, they have the power to give a great referral and send people my way, right? This is the principle that you can take. You can do this anywhere in the country. It doesn't matter. You can take the principle of what other marketing companies are doing and implement this for you. So here's just a list of some of these things. Oh, and at the bottom, I should mention this one. This is a really good one. ALFs, other assisted livings, right? If they are full, do you know them? Do you have a relationship with them? Because we're always full. So we send leads all the time to, there's really just one assisted living that we trust that has great care, right? We send leads all the time over there. But what about different levels of care? If you, like me, if you're end of life care or if you're memory care, there's other assisted livings that are lighter levels of care around my area. And when they're at a lighter level of care and they decline, they need more care, right? Like, it just, mom's either moving out of her house, she's moving out of independent living, she's moving out of a lighter level of care assisted living, and now they have a problem. How do I solve this problem? I solve this problem by selling my heart, my vision, touring my mansion to these influencers who can therefore turn around and say, hey, you know what? I follow Platinum on social. I have their virtual tour on my phone. Let me show you POA. Let me show you daughter. Look, check this out, right? Like, I've been following, their chef is awesome. He makes the best stuff. Like, take a look at this, right? Like, this is ultimately what I do. It's not that difficult, right? I'm running a great company, a great operations company, and I'm assuming you do or will do the same thing. But I'm spending the 3 to 4 hours a week on my marketing business. It's really not that much time. Being very strategic about it. Who are the 20 people that I need to meet? And I just need to sell 20 people, have them turn around, and they're going to do their own work. This is their job, right? If you are the director or the manager of an independent living and you find Miss Betty on the floor, or you find that she has not taken her medication in 14 days and she's got all her pills mixed up, you got to call the daughter, right? You got to call the POA, you got to call the family and say, hey, here's what we found for your mom. Like, you know what the daughter is going to do? What do I do next? Where do I send her? She needs to go somewhere else, right? Like that is a question that these influencers get every single day. Here's a new problem. Mom declined. How do I help mom next? All you got to do is sell your vision, sell your business, sell what you do, right? Just sell a few people and they will literally keep turning around. It's part of their job. They have a problem. They need to solve it. How do I tell the daughter? Here's the results. Like here's what your options are, right? You got Brookdale or you got Platinum, right? Like kind of a no-brainer. So that is some of the list here. Let's see what's next. Okay. This is how I implement this. I think that, again, you start with phase 1 and phase 2 at the same time. So everyone who works in the industry. And ultimately, the easiest place to start is at these networking groups. Like all these people, they get together, all the time. You can look this up, you can Google it, or if you can't find something, find the hospice person or the home health company, because they have literally marketing people on salary. Right? It is their job to go around marketing. Those are the people who they knock on your door. They bring you a little cup with the pens and the cookies and candy and stuff in it. Those people, it is their job to go from facility to independent living to all these different marketing events and just talk about their hospice, right? Those people know everyone. They know where all the events are. Google it or meet one of them and say, hey, can I buy you coffee? Can you show me around? Can you introduce me to people? Can you give me the list of what are the events in this area? Right? Like it's not that difficult to get into this niche, in this industry, because it's a small little like spider web of people who all know each other. But if they don't know you, then you are not doing your job. Even if you're providing great care and you have open beds, then you could be providing better care because there's more grandmas that you could be providing awesome care for. But if you have empty beds, then ultimately you're letting those grandmas down. And all you got to do is have a solid plan and spend 3 to 4 hours a week implementing this plan. So a lot of these people, right, these influencers, they are employees. They work for a company, right? Like come at it from this perspective. Help them do their job easier. You are not actually selling. You are equipping, right? Like you don't got to go in there and feel all nervous because you're selling your assisted living. No, you're helping them do their job easier. If they, by default, as part of their job, probably 3, 4, 5, 10 times a week, have to say to someone, hey, mom declined and, we recommend this now. Your job is to be another tool in their tool belt. All you got to do is like show your heart, show your vision, sell what you do, and just be another tool. Give them more options, right? If they don't like you, they're not going to refer you, but at least give them the option to. That is not selling. That is equipping them to do their job better, right? You're helping them and help really the daughter, which helps everybody. So one of the things that I really, really love about this whole space, like the phase 2, right, is my bread and butter, is I don't have to pay any money on commission. They literally are not allowed to accept money, right? The placement agents, yes, it's their whole job to accept money. But all these people, I came up with a list of 30 or 40 different positions, and that's just positions because there's multiple companies in your area for each of these positions. You could come up with 100 people. I'm sure you can come up with 100 people. I came up with tons of people when I did this exercise. All you got to do is, just start with 5, right? Like I call it the strategic 20 because you want to get to, these 20 relationships. But even if you had just 5 to start, right? Like get some people in there who can send you referrals, right? And then meet more people. Go and plan your week out. What does 2 events a week look like, right? An hour and a half here, an hour and a half there. That's really all it is, right? Meet the right people who know all the different events and have them plug you in, have them introduce yourself. And then, strike up a little conversation at the lunch table or over coffee, whatever it is. And like, hey, here's my heart. Here's what I love doing. I love grandmas. I want to take care of them. Would you want to come over? Like, do you want to come tour? Do you want to see my assisted living, right? So one of the little tricks that we do to do this is we actually have tea time with grandma. And I got these cute little tea sets and we have our chef make little sugar cookies and he sets up tea and we get all the grandmas around together in the great room. And we just use it as an activity, right? Like almost every week we do tea time with grandma. And so I strategically will use this to be like, hey, we're always looking for people to come volunteer. Do you want to do tea time with grandma? All you got to do is sit there and drink tea and laugh with these ladies, right? Like find some type of excuse where it's not awkward to invite people over to share your heart, to show why your assisted living is awesome. And I do with just tea time with grandma. And it's very low pressure and kind of fun. And I bet you a lot of these people, they have a heart for this, right? They want to have tea with grandma. That sounds cool. So that's really the core of what we do. If you can take anything away, it's this right here. Who are the people, 5, 10 people that you can meet, you can introduce yourself to, you can start up a conversation, you can share your heart, your passion for this space, and then invite them over and tour. And really just like, this is it. And even if you don't even have your license yet, even if you're under construction, even if whatever it is, still invite them over. Like we literally did it while we were under construction. So, and we still got almost every, we sold almost all of our rooms. All right. So that's the first part of it. If you can take anything from this, this is what you can apply right now, phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 3 and 4, I want to talk through, and I won't be in such depth on it because it's really more of a longer play. But think of it from this perspective. If you had on phase 1, people who were in the industry, right? That's like less than 1% of your entire city, right? Like maybe like 1/10 of 1%, right? Like that means that 99.9% of every other person in your city is not working in the industry, right? They have all sorts of other jobs, a variety of kind of jobs, right? But there's so many people there who are also influencers, right? By default, they have people who are following them, right? And they have power in their referral. So who is it that can be influencers in your community that is not people that are working in the industry? So well, as I go through this, I'm thinking about it. I first want to find out, okay, who is it that has my people, right? Who has my ideal customer? So I want to know who is my ideal customer, right? So here's 3 questions that I go through as I'm trying to get known by my ideal customer. Is number 1, who is my ideal customer? And for me, we're end of life care, right? Our grandmas are 85 to 100. That person, that 85-year-old, 95-year-old grandma is not my customer. My customer is actually that person's daughter. That person's daughter is usually the POA, is usually the one coming and touring, is signing the contract, is paying me. That is who I'm trying to meet, the daughter, right? You have a 90-year-old minus about 30 years, right? So somewhere in the 50 to 70 years old, usually female, lives within 20 minutes of my assisted living, usually more on the affluent side because we have a higher price assisted living. That's who I'm trying to meet, right? That's my ideal customer. So then the next question is, okay, if I've identified who my ideal customer is, people who have the same kind of social, financial, geological similarities, they kind of all go in the same channels, right? They all kind of hang out in the same types of locations. So then I would think to myself, the next question is, where do people like that naturally go to hang out? Like, where do they go? Where do they congregate? And then, so I made a list of all the different places. If you're 50 to 70-year-old female with money in my area, where would you go, right? What kind of restaurants, what type of bars do you go to? What type of community events do you go? All these kind of things. And then the important question is, who at those places is the leader? Who's the influencer there? Who is the most popular person in the room? Who's the master networker who knows everybody, right? If those are the people I'm trying to get a hold of, who is the influencer at those places? Because they have the following and they have the power in their referral. So it's very similar, except on the opposite side, in the community side. I went through this exercise to figure this out. So as I was going through kind of the school of hard knocks, learning this the hard way, I had this idea that, okay, I got through the first 2 questions, right? I thought I was doing pretty good. I knew who my ideal customer was. I figured out my daughter, and I actually figured out where does she hang out. I had all these places where I walk into a room and it's all of a sudden it's like, man, like everyone here is newly retired and a younger retired female, right? Like I'm walking to these restaurants like, oh man, it's just everyone here is 60-year-old female. I had identified these places. I knew where they were at. And I thought to myself, well, you know what? If I can go and network there if I can go into a room full of people who are my avatar, then I really am doing well, right? Like I got this strategy down, and I'll just go and I'll network and I'll meet 6 people or 10 people, hand out my business cards, give my elevator pitch, boom, right? I'm doing good. Then I had the aha moment, right? Like, okay, that's a pretty good strategy, right? Like I can work the room, I can maybe meet, 5, 10, 12 people. But then it was like, well, why am I not doing the influencer strategy here, right? Like, who is the one person in this room who is the influencer, who knows the other 60 ladies in the room, right? Who has the networking list of everyone here, who has the power and ability in the referral to be able to represent Platinum Resort and be like, hey, you know what, ladies, if you are looking for someone for your mom or your dad, they're the best, right? Like, how do I meet that person? So I'm trying to take the exact same really principle here. How do I sell one person in this community that can therefore turn around and give me a shout out, who can post on their group page, who can send out an email about this, right? Who can give me a stand up and be like, hey, you know what? Platinum's the best, right? That if I can meet that one person who has the power and authority in those little pockets of groups that I've identified, then ultimately I'm just making a few sales, touring these people, and they, as they go about their normal lives, right, will go and refer Platinum over and over and over again. So that is ultimately what I did. And I want to give you a list of a few different examples here, right? So we're talking about where are these community influencers? And for me, here's what I found: 55 plus hangouts, right? Meaning like if you're in a 55 plus neighborhood or a little community, like we have a big golf course kind of neighborhood here, you have to be 55 and older to live there. They have a wine bar there. They got like the country club there. They got some restaurants there. Literally the restaurant at the 55 plus, I mean, it's just full of people of that age, right? Like who is the maitre d' there, right? Like who is the manager of that restaurant? Who is the person who is the local there, right? Like the charity organizations are pretty much our bread and butter for this whole category, because when you are 70 years old, have no kids in the house, have no job, and you have money in the bank, you know what you got? You got a bunch of free time, right? Like if you have this much free time, you can only spend so much time at your grandkids' baseball games. And then what, right? Like you're donating your time, you're raising money, you're doing all these different things at charity organizations. And so we specifically met and worked and networked at some of these organizations where, you know what, you go in and I'm the youngest person in the room by 30 years at least, right? Like it's just all full of my grandma there, all of them, all these ladies, they look just like my grandma and they are my avatar. So I'm trying to find out who's the hostess of this meeting, who's the leader of this group, who is the person who's checking people in, who's giving the presentation, right? Like I want to sell that person. I want to introduce myself, sell my heart, tell them I love taking care of grandmas. And that, you know, hey, if you're available, come tour. I'd love to show you what we do. And by the way, we got tea time on Wednesday. If you want to come hang out with the grandmas, eat cookies, and we'll chit chat and play bridge, right? Like they love that stuff. They eat that stuff up. So that retirement communities, churches, small groups, Bible studies, there's so many little groups when you start making lists of these things that you can get into. So my biggest takeaway is instead of selling one at a time, one to one, over and over again, trying to work the room, just sell the one influencer in the room, right? Work that strategic relationship. You're really just selling what you do, talking about it, and then really building a genuine relationship. It doesn't usually happen like you're not BFFs after one meeting, but a lot of these times they meet every week, every month. You go and you spend some time and maybe you volunteer, you stay late breaking down chairs, whatever it is, so that you have the opportunity to show that you're a real person, that you care, and that you're going to do this. And ultimately, again, like I set aside an hour and a half twice a week. It's really not a big deal. So that's phase 3. Honestly, I wouldn't even get there yet. I want to talk about it, but I wouldn't even get there yet until you're full and you have a wait list. After that, then you can kind of move into the community side. And then phase 4 is still on the community side, but it's the paid side, right? Like how do you do pay to get yourself known by these huge groups of all your avatars? So I talked about this idea that our bread and butter on the community side is the charity events, right? So these places, we've identified several that have literally like hundreds up to almost 1,000 sometimes at some of these events of the affluent people in our area that are older, right? Like it's where all the mayor shows up and the city council and all the affluent people, the business owners, they're all at these meetings. Okay. I want to be at these meetings. And usually it may not be as easy to meet the head of these things, to become, friends of these people, but you can for sure sponsor these events. And so that's what we do at Platinum. We literally have a budget of, a couple grand a year to sponsor events. And we do this every year. We'll go and we give like $1,000 to this one specific event that has like 600 people that are our avatar in our city, and all of their friends, they are all looking to place their mom or their dad soon, right? Like, I can spend this amount of money. I can go and they give a shout out, and I say, hey, thank you, and blah, blah, blah. And we've donated this. And I get a shout out from in front of hundreds of people, right? So what other kind of things can you do if you can donate to something that's a good cause that can also promote you in front of the right people, right? Don't spend the money and donate if it's in front of the wrong people. Do it to benefit your business also. So again, this is the only time that we actually spend money on marketing. It's the strategic donations that get us known by the kind of the elite influencers in our community. But again, I wouldn't hit that until you have built your reputation. You've got your beds full. You have your wait list, and then you're kind of working your way into your community. So the walk to end Alzheimer's, that's another really great one. We donate, and we're there with the booth for that one as well. So I wanted to stress this. This is really what we did. And you can start this even right now. Like literally here, let me show you this next photo. This is Laura. Here's my wife in Platinum Resort before we had our license. I mean, this must have been like 6 months before we even had our license. And we were touring people going through like this. We were doing exactly what I'm talking about. We're meeting the right people. We're sharing our heart to make a difference and love on some grandmas. And then we're just walking them through. And even though our building looked like it was a construction zone, we're just talking about our vision for it, what makes it special, right? It's not even there yet, but we're going to make it special. This is what we're going to do. So, even as we're like putting sheetrock up, we're walking through and we're saying, hey, we're going to have our salon over here. We have all private rooms. We have our chef and, all these different things. And if you don't have those things, it's not really relevant. Like, just share what's special about you. So I want to stress that you should start this literally right now. And going back to the very start of this, I tried to give you some perspective on numbers, right? Because some people are going to relate to that. Like, here's a big reason why. Because it's 100, 200 grand, right? Like, you can use this strategy to really have a life-changing amount of additional profit in your business. So again, kind of just to hit this and let you know, this is how you would do it. If you are open now and you're struggling to fill your beds, right? Start with phase 1. Pay for speed. Meet those placement agents, but don't just meet them and then like sign a contract and don't do anything with it. Cultivate a relationship there. Give them the tools to be able to turn around and sell you, right? So you're going to use that to fill up in the first, 30, 60 days. And then you're going to focus on the phase 2 people who are the influencers in the community that can go. They literally are hospice, home health, independent livings, other assisted livings that every single day are meeting grandmas, meeting with the POAs, the daughters, and mom has declined. Mom has had a fall. Mom now has, dementia, medication issues, right? Like, be the resource for them, right? And it's not very difficult to fill your beds and then just build a small little wait list, right? Within the first 3 months, get a little wait list. We opened our first assisted living. We had deposits. We had 12 out of 16 deposits before we had our license. Then we moved everybody in. We had a huge wave of grandmas coming in. And then I want to say within 6 months, we had 20 people on our wait list. And just using the strategy, we went from, license to 6 months, 20 people. And then honestly, after about a year, we stopped counting how many people were on the wait list because it wasn't even relevant. We couldn't even like keep up with it. We were just having new tours every single couple days, new tours. So use that. And then we just started increasing our pricing, right? Like, if we want to have the best care, right? This is not about money. This is about having the best care for grandmas. So use that money to pay for better caregivers, to hire a chef, to bring on a manager. And that's what we did. This is really about having the best product, providing the best care for our seniors, and really being able to take care of yourself and your family. So I want to say that your family is worth it. Your retirement play is worth it. And you need to set aside a strategy and some strategic time every single month to focus on your marketing. Because if you're expecting it to run itself, it's not. Your business will struggle. You are not doing right by your seniors by having empty beds. If you have an awesome product and empty beds, you could be doing more awesome by taking care of more grandmas, right? So this is what I would suggest that you do, the strategic 20, and that is me wrapping it up. I have on here, this is my podcast, Assisted Living Investing with Brett Chutkavis. You can search me. I'm on YouTube and on podcast. And I go through a lot of these things on filling your beds, on operations training, on raising money. And ultimately, my goal is to show you another path to document my journey as I grow my business and really to help you succeed. And so that's what I got for you today. I'll hand it back over here to Vern and he can take back over.
That was great. Do we have any questions from anybody? We gotta have questions.
I just wanna, Vern, this is Fran.
Hi, Fran.
So
Hi there.
I have, yeah, I have small assisted living homes, and I think you're right. Like, maybe 2 beds or maybe 3 beds have been sitting there for a year, 7, 8 months, and I'm struggling, to get people in. And the less I can settle with is like Innovate, TrueBase, or Medicaid, and it's so hard to get people from private pay. If I'm lucky, I can get 1 or 2 or 3, and I think this is a very, very helpful tip I'm getting now. So how do you advise like the little homes like me would succeed? Like I can say that like, okay, yours is big home, and then mine, some I've started from the scratch, some I bought them, just bought them from other chains of ownership. So I'm kind of a little bit struggling. So how do you advise me, a small one like me would succeed, or, do networking and, go with what all that you're saying?
Yeah, of course. So there's pros and cons to everyone's business, right? You're saying, hey, I'm small, so how do I market this? Your small is part of your advantage, right? Like you do not have to be around 100 other seniors, right? Like in a post-COVID world, no one wants to be around that many people. You're small, you're intimate, you can provide amazing care ratios. I would just take whatever your strengths are, and perhaps it's you, right? Perhaps it's your heart. Perhaps it's something special about where you're at. I would take those things and really just go and sell those things. And you don't have to sell like a car salesman. Just be genuine and be yourself. If you believe that you provide better care than everybody else, then just let them know, like, hey, we're small. We have a little intimate home here, but we give the best care. And I think the question back to you is, the influencers in your community, do they know that? Do they know who you are? Because in my experience, a lot of the small assisted livings and the unlicensed assisted livings, they stay under the radar. They're not at the events and no one knows who they are. So I would just come up with, here's my pitch, here's what makes me special, and then go promote that.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I really like the idea of looking for those influencers. And that if you have a champion for your business, then they're out there doing your work for you. So
Absolutely.
Good thoughts. Anybody else have any questions?
Yes, this is Sonia Benis. I have a question.
Go right ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was wondering if Brett can take us back to the last 2 slides before the pictures showing the house under construction.
Okay. Talking about phase 4.
Yes.
I can show you that. Okay. So I got this one here, and yeah, so I have phase 3 and I have phase 4. What would you like to see?
3 and 4.
Okay, well, here's 4. You may click over to 3 now.
Yes.
Okay. Vern, I don't know. I can send you this if you want. I don't know if you email these slides out.
We will, this is recorded and we will post this on our website, the DAALR.com website. So you could always go back to that and rewind to the section that you want to see.
Yeah, that will work. Thanks.
Okay, terrific. You're welcome. Any other questions for Brett?
I don't have a question. Well, I don't have a question, but I just want to say thanks for the information. It's really helpful, especially about the marketing. Champion those who know your business, get to know your community, put your brand out there. You share a lot of great ideas that are not normally common sense. So I appreciate you.
Absolutely. I'm glad it was helpful.
Another question.
Yeah, sure.
I just moved to the side of the state where I would like to start. I'm about an hour south from a larger city that I'm looking at beginning a home at. Just how would you advise getting to know that community and getting to know who those influencers are?
So I would say 2 things. On the industry side, people in the industry, I would start with finding these events. They all want to network together. So I would find out where those are, and I would again start by asking some of the local marketing people because they should know that. On the other side, in the community, I would start at your Chamber of Commerce. And our Chamber of Commerce has been really great for us to be able to, I guess, kind of like it's the start of a spider web of relationships. And I would strategically ask, and I want to meet the people who have the same customer avatar that I do, right? Like, what other businesses have 50 to 70-year-old females that's their core customer? I want to meet them.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any more questions?
I have a quick question. So if you are not yet, like if your home's not up and running yet you still want to start marketing your home. I know you said to start building those relationships, but in terms of, let's say, like social media, do you have any suggestions on how you would post about a home that has not yet been created yet?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll tell you specifically what I did is I thought of myself as like the underdog in this. And because I like to use that when I come at this from social media, because everyone roots for the underdog in your story, and you have your own story, right? Like if it is your goal, and for me, it was my first time getting into assisted living, and I felt like, maybe kind of an imposter. I don't have experience. I haven't done this before. Why should I do this? And maybe you relate to that. But it allowed me to be like, hey, I'm kind of the underdog and I'm posting, here's what I want to do. I want people to root for me, right? Like, so as I was looking at different properties, as I was looking at land, I just shared it on my social. And it allowed people to start following my journey. And then when we bought the property, I started documenting that. When we did construction, I was very heavy on social media, talking through all the different construction, talking through license, talking about the design, the decor. I just documented my whole journey. And I had a bunch of people in the community who started following me and knew what I was doing and started talking about it, because not very many people like get into end of life and assisted living. It's kind of something like, oh yeah, hey, do you know that person, they're doing that. And so just me documenting it allowed people to kind of get known in this thing, at least in my little circle. But the other advantage to this is how I really raised money. I just started talking about, even before I had the house, I'm going and I'm looking at properties. Hey, did you know that it's my dream to open my own assisted living? And, if you're interested in something like this, reach out to me, because I'd love to talk about partnerships or working with other people. And that's literally the strategy I used to raise money.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Out of curiosity, would you document your journey on like your personal account or under your like business name?
I would do it under my personal and then tag or share to my business name. Because
Okay.
ultimately, like if you're brand new, like no one's following your business, but they're following your personal. So I would start there.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Good stuff. Any other questions?
Yes. Well, thank you for your presentation today. I do have a question. When you post on social media, say Facebook, do you worry about, you know, how to, deal with families that potentially don't want, um, too much details of, their family or their loved ones on Facebook, and especially as a marketing tool for yourself or for your business? I mean, I know you can sign, agreement, confidentiality and things like that, or release of things, but I think that, some of these things, you never know what would upset families when posted.
Yeah. Okay. So first and foremost, I do have them sign. I make sure it's in my lease agreement. Every family POA signs that I am allowed to take photos and post on social media. And second to that point, I don't have really much issue with that. And I think because, I mean, they know me, right? Like I know all the families. They're there in and out of the building. I see them all the time. They know me. They trust me. I only let myself or my wife post or my managers. I don't let our caregivers do it. Our caregivers don't take photos of our residents or anything like that. But usually it's like cute photos. It's like activity time. Really, our families are the biggest proponent of it. They want to see it. And it's usually like the extended families that start following our assisted living. And I don't think it's an issue if you're doing it, appropriately. I think most of the family is very encouraged to see mom doing well and all that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next question. Any more? Don't be shy.
Yeah. So with Brett, let me ask, do you operate like multiple homes or one location, or just wanting to know kind of what your operation is like? And again, being able to manage relationship with all families personally, if you operated multiple homes, for instance.
So it's my wife and I, we own Platinum Resort. So we have one that we're currently operating, and then we're breaking ground on building 4 more, and it's in the same city. Those we run ourselves. We also partner with people around the country to build our exact mansions and really kind of take our whole system and marketing machine and operations machine into their city. So I don't directly run those myself. Here in Georgetown, Texas, I personally run these.
Anybody else? Going once. Going twice. Don't be shy. All right. Brett, that was a great presentation. Thank you very much. We always appreciate what you have to say and your insight. So let's give
You're
a
welcome.
round of applause.
Well, thank you, everybody. You're an awesome audience. Thank you for allowing me to come and present again. And I hope you all were able to take something practical away from this to be able to implement this right now.
Awesome. And this is recorded and will be on the DAALR website. Next, we go to our haves and wants. If anybody has haves and wants, then now is your opportunity to express those to the group. Does anybody have anything they want to ask or have? If not, then we will wrap up tonight's meeting. I do leave it open for any networking. I step off, but we leave this forum open. So if you want to chat with somebody, I want to remind you in the chat screen, the little 3-dot button that's there, you can save the file. So you can download the chat file and connect with the people that you met tonight. I hope you all enjoyed tonight's meeting, and we will be back next month at the last Wednesday of the month, whichever date that is. And we'll see you later.